The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us how our end will come to pass." Yeshua said, "Have you found the beginning so that you now seek the end? For the end will be where the beginning is. Blessed is the person who stands at rest in the beginning, and that person will be acquainted with the end and will not taste death." Time is one of those enigmas of the human experience. While it's a great tool for ordering a sequence of events, we can't exactly say it's real beyond our observation. By chronicling our lives from birth to our inevitable death, we use the construct of time to either remember a memory or share our relatable experiences. As a result, we spend our entire lives believing the flow of time from point A to B is something that exists independently of ourselves. It's like we never stop to even consider how much of this apparent passing of time is tied to our memories and our concept of self. What's wild is it's the now, like right here and right now, that's beginningless. OG Yeshua said, "Blessed is the one who stands at rest in the beginning and is acquainted with the end, because only now exists." So today's mystery is the beginningless nature of time, obviously. So let's ride with it to take that journey within. What up, though? It's Justin, and today we're talking about our concept of now. Reason being is because it affects the way we view existence. We end up with creation myths because of our individual lives having a beginning and end, so we just assume that everything has to, right? It's weird because we're linear thinkers who can't seem to wrap our heads around the world without time. Like our experience doesn't account for how elements like water would experience time. For water, it would take on a circular experience where it passes through the stages of solid, liquid, and vapor over and over again, yeah? This sort of passing takes on a circular nature, and it's the reality for much of the material world. Remember, Yeshua taught that it's our awareness, our observation that gives meaning to the persons, places, and things we encounter. That awareness extends to the way we measure our passing from one space to the next. Perception is the only thing we take with us. When we consider awareness, there seems to be an underlying current in Yeshua's teachings that urge us to look through the eye of the Spirit and observe from beyond our understanding. Lighting the lamp is paramount because it's our silent observer that stands at rest in the beginning. The mysteries are paradox otherwise. So the very thing that ties us together is the very thing that stands at rest at the beginning. We don't get exclusive rights to here and now any more than we can claim our awareness is somehow unique. Everyone who has awareness has the ability to stand at rest in the beginning. That's why my intellect doesn't matter. I can bring various understandings together and allude to a fuller picture, but this is an internal wisdom that's been freely given by hundreds of mystics and sages and enlightened beings stretching back to our ancestors who meditated on the flames of sacred fire. It's not mine. We aren't special. Cosmically speaking, mystical mind state is a blink in the eye of Osiris. Why? Because like Heraclitus said, life is in a perpetual state of becoming. Uncle Moshe told us this in the Genesis narrative, but we missed it. It says, "In the beginning when God created the heavens and the earth." Bereshit bara Elohim, in the beginning when God, being the traditional English translation. However, the grammatical structure of the Hebrew in Genesis 1 is a play on words that gets lost in translation. As a result, we're working from an incorrect translation where there seems to be two running concepts of creation we can choose from. A creation out of nothing, ex nihilo, right? Or an activity of Godhead that begins with water and earth that were already in existence. The first word, bereshit, is made up of two elements. The preposition be, meaning in, with, by, through, when, and the noun reshit, which means first, former, or best thing. This can't be seen as in the beginning because the noun reshit is hardly ever used as a freestanding noun. It's normally used with another noun to refer to the beginning of something. Also, the preposition is a vocalized be and not ba, which is a contraction of be in the definitive article ha. If it began with ba, it would mean in the beginning, but because it begins with be, it means in the beginning of something that follows. Taking these 2 points together, bereshit could be understood as in the beginning of something. Now see, in my mind, this clears up the Godhead working with material already in existence because we don't know and can't know what was happening beforehand. All we do know is there is something beginning from something. Then Moshe uses the verb bara, or created, as in he created. Utilizing the verb as is gives us the opening statement, In the beginning of he created. Well, who? Who created? Now, this is also one of the instances Kabbalists use to denote the word God appearing 10 times in the creation epic. That alludes to the Sephirah, but I bring it up here because it's only implied. It's not actually spelled out for us. Moshe loved mystery. Now, we could also try using the finite verb bara, or he created, as an infinitive, to create or creating, but since finite verbs don't ever substitute for infinitives in biblical Hebrew, we would need to change the vowels in the form of baro to bero, right? Like the creating of. The noun governant then would be Elohim, which is typically a plural name for God, but it's used as a singular here because it behaves like one. Think of it like Eloah, I, God. And what Moshe's actually stating is that God is beyond our understanding. Like, we can't talk about Aleph unless we talk about Bet. Either way, this would give us a sort of corrected grammar similar to the Greek translation in the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, but it doesn't actually work. Finally, we could try using the one way that seems to make sense of the syntax without altering the vocalization of the verb bara, or he created. One can understand the opening word in the beginning of to be governed by the rest of the sentence, making the dependent clause a beginning when God. In other words, God created the heavens and the earth isn't treated like a verb in its object, but as a single complex noun. In the beginning, the God created the heavens and the earth, making Elohim the first creation. Psst. We could slide Proverbs right in there too, but later for all that. Personally, I love seeing the first 3 words of Torah being treated as a singular complex noun because it places creation in a state similar to quantum entanglement, the phenomenon that leads to what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Now, I'm not even going to pretend I can explain quantum physics in a 10-minute video, so I'm going to hit you with a quote by Nassim Haramein. It says, "Our eyes are made up of atoms that were once created in the center of stars. So when we look up into the sky at night, we are looking back at the very structures that created the structure we are using to look." I love that. But that end exists in a beginning when and stands at the rest in the now, right? And I don't know how to simplify this because no matter what words we use to describe how interconnected everything is, the mystery of experience still can't be simplified. Maybe the opening lines of Genesis are meant to convey Moshe's desire to leave the name of Godhead unspoken. It definitely reflects his belief that God is beyond our ability to grasp. It would also state God separated his ultimate unity and stepped from formless void in order to create the plurality that would give creatures the ability to know good and evil. We'll run through the concept of Zim Zum at another point, so bear with me as I brush over it briefly. But we came into being to know, and to know takes freedom. Otherwise, every created being that exists inside the continuum would be intertwined with a knowing because knowing implies existence in a whole. We don't usually experience that depth. Look, all the opening lines of the Torah really seem to say is answer the riddle and unlock the mystery. In the beginning of what? He created. Who? God did. Well, what doesn't make any sense in the temporal world makes perfect sense mystically. Our world may have a beginning, but it's an infinite now that never stops being infinite. What appears to be a grammatical error is actually implying that creation doesn't exist in a way we can conceive of because God is beyond our understanding, and attempting to describe God would have been unspeakable to Moshe. Creation exists outside of our concept of time while existing in all time simultaneously. That's how eyes created from stardust can stare in wonder at the stars that created them. It's a paradox that reflects Yeshua's sentiment when he said, "Blessed is the one who stands at rest in the beginning." When did the Supreme Being rest? On the 7th day he rested, and all polarity and paradoxes were reconciled back into the infinite union of the One, the dweller in eternity. For laughs, ask a member of the scientific community to explain how past, present, and future relate to matter in motion. You'll receive an answer eerily similar to the opening lines of Genesis. Because honestly, we just don't know, guys. Like, that's the truth. So next time we'll get into Genesis 1-2 and sift through an even more confusing aspect of the creation narrative and discuss how a couple of kids in Alexandria gave us this whole quagmire of Wild West philosophies that we now call dogma, and why your dogma is probably based on a falsehood. But anyways, I digress. Until then, keep breathing in light and living in love.